Oh, I'm already recording. All right, we're back in the garage today. And as you all have previously saw, we got the Pure 500 installed. We've been going through the tuning process with Carrie Jordan, and we are already hitting a wall with the stock high pressure fuel pump. So today we're going to show you guys how we install the Dorsch 1.5 high pressure fuel pump. I feel like this is obviously our only way we're going to be able to progress forward with the custom tune, and this is even happening with 93. We're seeing some crazy drop-offs just on the 93 tune, pushing around 22 PSI, and we're seeing drops all the way down to 1600, which is not good. So my only way forward right now is to put on the Dorsch high pressure fuel pump. So we're gonna show you guys, we're gonna do a tutorial today on how to install the Dorsch high pressure fuel pump, and then that way we can get back to tuning the Pure 500. So here we go. Just wanted to show you guys some of my logs when we were tuning with the 93. As you can see, we're targeting 2300 PSI, and in the high boost conditions, we're seeing 1600 PSI. So after conversations with Carrie and just understanding where we were at in the tuning process, we decided it was necessary to go over to the Dorsch pump to continue tuning the 93 tune with the Pure 500. So that's why I decided to go over to the Dorsch 1.5. All right, so with the Dorsch kit, you have your pump, which I've already unboxed this already, so this is not how it comes. But you have the high pressure fuel pump. So looks like that. So you have your electrical connector, and then the pump assembly, bolt holes, that kind of stuff. So that is your pump, and then this is the install kit. So with the install kit, you have, this is the flange that will be bolted up to your vacuum pump, which is the Bosch vacuum pump is what the high pressure fuel pump mounts to. You have your alignment dowel here, you have your connector, and then you have your hardware. So that's in that. And then they also provide you with your hard line. This hard line goes from the high pressure fuel pump to your fuel rail. And then this is the soft line that will go from your factory low pressure side to the high pressure fuel pump. So these are all the parts, and I will now walk you guys through the install.
All right, so first thing with this job we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the ground to the battery, because we have to remove the intake manifold from the car, and when you remove the intake manifold, you have to disconnect the DME. Also, dealing with any kind of pressure pumps, low pressure or high pressure fuel pumps, you want to go ahead and disconnect your ground anyways, because you don't want anything activating it while you have the lines off. And then secondly, I always make sure I put something over this, because you do not want this to close and not have access to get back into your trunk to put the battery back on in order to be able to open the trunk. So yeah, I always just put something there and guard you from closing that and not being able to get in. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the front of the car and start taking things apart. First, I'm gonna uninstall this strut bar, just because it just makes your life way easier when we don't have this here. So I will remove this, make sure I grab the washers with it. All right, and next we're going to uninstall, because we have to take the intake manifold off. We're gonna go ahead and uninstall the charge pipe. So we're just gonna undo that. All right, we're gonna undo the meth line. This is a push to connect, so we can just do that. Put that out of the way. We'll disconnect this vacuum line. We will remove this vacuum line. This one's actually on there pretty good. So I'll go ahead and remove it from there. That is our vacuum source. We'll disconnect this map sensor. Sometimes they fight you, sometimes they don't. Some people like to use picks. I personally just like to use a little screwdriver. It's easier to just get on the front side, and then you can also push while you're doing it. So on the front side of the connector, lift up, pull. Very simple, very easy. Okay, so, all right, we got that all disconnected. Let's disconnect the T-map off the charge pipe. And then, let's see here if we can get this one off. There we go, T-map off the charge pipe. Now, a lot of people were asking, Tyler, what do you have on your charge pipe? I got sick of dealing with that O-ring to the throttle body. So I had one of their heavy duty clamps welded to my throttle body. Now you can go to pretty much any shop and ask for this to be done. Makes life a whole lot easier when you're going to take this off. Because as you can see, I just disconnected that. It's disconnected. Go ahead and pull this off. And now your charge pipe is free and off. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and just disconnect some of this stuff. This makes it easier to move around. I reconfigured a lot of this wiring, so it's just to get it out of the way. So when you go to, obviously next we're gonna disconnect the DME. So start with this one in the back and then slowly work your way forward. So you got those three over the main harnesses like that. Move all that out of the way. And I'll show you guys once I get it all the way out what it looks like. It's almost like the one on your low pressure fuel pump, but there you go. So as you can see, this slides out to unlock and then you can pull up. And then once you do that, then you have access to the backs of these ones. And so both of those are pinched to remove. Sometimes they're a pain in the ass though. There's one. I've not removed these before, so like I said, they can be a pain in the ass. So we'll go ahead and work on the second one. Might have to get a pair of pliers on it. Nope, there we go. All right, so got everything disconnected from the DME. All that stuff. Take this off just to make it easier. Now we're gonna go ahead and loosen the intake manifold. Go ahead and remove some of these hoses out of the way. Then you have, let's see, I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 11 millimeter bolt nuts. So we'll go ahead and take those off and then we'll work on it from there. Now one thing when you go to remove these, you really don't want to drop them. Dropping them sucks. So what I do is I put my finger on there, hold it, and then that way you can hold it by the washer. So what I do is I'll loosen it and from here push on this and pull it out. That way you don't lose it. So we'll go ahead and set that there for now. I don't know where my magnet tray is. There's one, there's two. Oh, see, dropped one like an idiot. Sometimes you fumble. Thankfully, we'll have the intake manifold off so we can access it, but sometimes it goes places that you don't know you can get to. All right, so we got the vacuum line off the intake line. Next is the one that goes to the valve cover. It's very easy. It's down here. It's attached to the high pressure fuel pump, the vacuum pump that's connected to it. So just a nice small tug like that, and that comes on out. So got all that. And then we have one more here. And the intake manifold is officially loose. Now this is very easy. Now the only thing that's kind of a pain is when we go ahead and get this intake manifold pulled off, make sure you got everything disconnected from it. There's some other stuff that kind of hangs on it in the back here. There is the vacuum line that goes from this system to the back of the throttle body. That is a pain in the butt to get to sometimes. So I'll show you guys real quick. This is me pulling it off. Let's see here. So nice and easy. Just give it a little bit of tug. Got it hanging up somewhere here. Make sure we got everything else off of it. So it's still hanging up somewhere back here. Unfortunately, looks like this fuel line, there we go. All right, so now we're just gonna go ahead and slide this off like so. All right, so now we got that off. Go ahead and put this stuff that belongs to that harness over there. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but we got this. You can go ahead and undo this fuel line there. It just makes it easier because that creates a tight spot there. And we'll go ahead and pull this away. Now, like I said, the one thing that might be a pain in the ass, you'll have to come around here and look, but it is this vacuum line right here that holds on to the bottom side of the throttle body. So once you get that loose, you got a couple wires here that are part of the wire harness that hold it on. Let me get those pulled off real quick, and then we'll pull this out. And then the last connector will be this one on the throttle body. It is a simple pinch on the bottom side. It should be, yep, there we go. And then that should just come on out. Very easy, very simple. Took me 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and set that over here. And then, let's see. And now we will show you what we need to do the pump. So you have this vacuum line on the pump. We'll go ahead and take that off just to get out of the way. It's like the rest of them. It's just a double-sided pinch, and that should come off. If I have my other hand in here, get the back side of it. Had a little bit of vacuum on it, so that's why it was difficult. So go ahead and just take that from here. So this vacuum pump here, that vacuum line we just took off, goes to your vacuum booster, your brake booster for your brake system. So this is the main supply for your brake system. So make sure you put that line back on and correctly. All right, so now we got this other system out of the way. Here is your main connector to your high pressure fuel pump. It's got a safety clip on it, so you just pull that up, push down on it. Come on, there we go. All right, so then you have these two 17mm nut heads, and then you have this one here. So I always recommend, there's probably pressure behind this. So what I always recommend is putting a towel over it when you go to break it. And if any pressure, it'll just lightly release, just so you don't spray yourself and all over the engine bay. But it shouldn't really have too much. But there you go, that's loose. So we'll just go ahead, take that off. That one's off, and then we'll do the bottom one. Since we already relieved the pressure on the top. Now some fuel will come out. If you really care, throw a rag down there. It's just gonna evaporate anyways, so and it's not gonna start a fire, don't worry about that. So there you go, your hard line is out. Next, we will go ahead and remove this next one. Again, put a rag over it just to protect yourself. Get this on there, break that line, that nut loose, no pressure there. That's the low pressure side, so not too big of a worry, but still don't want to get messy, too messy at least. All right, so now that we've got both lines disconnected, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna remove the high pressure fuel pump. Now, I recommend, obviously, just like Dorch recommends, when you go to loose this, it's a T30. We're gonna go ahead and do this little by little. So I recommend for each turn you do on one side, you do the next on the other side. I might need a little bit of an extension for this one, but so we're just gonna go little by little on each side. We'll get a couple turns there, and we'll come back here, and we'll get a couple turns here. And then you just keep going back and forth because this has got pressure on it from a spring in the high pressure fuel pump, and you don't want this to come out cockeyed and damage anything. So we want to slowly take it out on each side. So we're just going to continue to loosen this on each side. And you can see the gap there, and you want the gap to kind of just stay as even as possible coming out. So we're going to go ahead and loosen that, and then as you start to see it get a little bit too high on one side, go to the other side. And you'll see this side get higher, and then we'll go to the other side. So just keep doing that until you get the pump off. All right, so we got the pump off. Go ahead and grab a rag. And that's what your high pressure fuel pump looks like. So we'll go ahead, set that in here. We'll just go ahead and compare and show you guys, you know, what it looks like. So here's your pump. You got your connector on this side. So that's what that looks like. That's why we got a different line here, obviously because of the location of the inlet and the outlet. So we'll go ahead and get the Dorsch one put in. Now remove this hard line. You got to take this harness with the bracket off, or junction, and it's got two 13mm bolts underneath it. So we'll go ahead and remove those, and that'll loosen up the line. All right, so now that we got those out of the way, we've loosened up this hard line. So we'll go ahead, it's gonna have a little bit of fuel in it still. We'll go ahead and try to pull this on through like so. Might lose some fuel, but that's okay. Recover any hardware that you may have dropped. That is leaves, but I did drop one of my intake manifold bolts, nuts, so recovered that. No one's perfect. And then clean out some of this other shit. Okay, so here's this line. So what you need to do is to take this hard line off of this soft line. We're gonna go ahead and remove. There is a gray clip that is the safety clip for the fuel line. So you'll go ahead and remove that, set that up there. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take this. What you need to do is this after you remove this safety clip, this looseness, you're gonna push it into the soft line, into this fitting, and it's gonna release the hard line. So you push in and then you pull out, and that's it. Your hard line is released. All right, so we're installing the bolts from the flange to the high pressure fuel pump vacuum pump. Dorsch recommends you use blue Loctite, so we're gonna be putting we've put some blue Loctite on these bolts. And then still with their alignment tool in place, we're gonna go ahead and thread these on, and then we're gonna torque it to 12 Newton meters is what the instructions say. So we'll go ahead and get these on and torque them to 12 Newton meters. All right, so we got the high pressure fuel pump. They want us to put blue Loctite on the mounting bolts as well for the high pressure fuel pump. Now you gotta make sure everything stays extremely clean. We're gonna go ahead and remove the alignment dowel, and then we're gonna go ahead and place this pump in there, and I'll show you guys how to clock it. All right, so they got the alignment dowel out. Now in between this point and the electrical connector where my thumb is right here, is where it's going to go where your NOx sensor is. So we're gonna go ahead and set this on down there. And then now we're gonna do the same thing we did when we installed or uninstalled the factory pump. We're slowly gonna put pressure on a couple of turns each way. Now there is gonna be some resistance, but just to get past the spring and the O-ring here once this starts to go down and surface. So once you get this down and it feels like you're snug and this mating surface with the pump is with the flange, then you're at a point where you can come in and do 12 Newton meters of torque on each of the bolts. But again, make sure you do it, I would do like one turn at a time, back and forth, just so that this goes down evenly, and so that the pump doesn't, favor one side or the other, because you could damage the O-ring or the spring. So make sure this goes down nice and evenly, and then we'll get this torqued and start putting lines and electrical connectors on. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna install this hard line, or this soft line. Now, normally you would think it would run on the back side of this, but due to space constraints, we're gonna have to run it over the top. So let's go ahead and start this finger tight. It is an AN fitting, so you do not need to get crazy with it. It should be fairly easy to start once you have the angle of it correct, and fairly easy to tighten, nothing crazy, You don't need crazy pressure or torque. It is a flanged seal. So once you get that started, you just go on like that. And we'll just leave it finger tight for now so that we can manipulate it a little bit. And then we'll kind of just follow this route. Since this is here, I'll probably just run it under here. And then to put this on, you literally just slide it on and then clip. And then once that's clipped in, go ahead, put your safety clip on the soft side, and that should be it for that. And then what we'll do is, now that we still have this loose, we'll go ahead and put the hard line on. All right, so what I've noticed is, what I like to do is make sure that the nuts are very close to the ends. That makes life easier. And then we'll start with the top one, and then just finger tight the top one. And then we'll go down here to the bottom one. And these are lined pretty well, so you should be able to just get that on, no problem, finger tight. And then once we got everything pretty good and on finger tight, we'll come in with a wrench and we'll snug everything up. All right, now we're going to come in and tighten our soft line. So that is an 18 millimeter. So go ahead, like I said, just nice and snug. I like to keep it nice and flush on there. And so now we got the pump all installed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put the 2 bolts back here to get that mounted back there. And then we will go ahead and put our intake manifold back on and then just do everything backwards. So we'll get that done, and then we'll get in the car and get everything installed, and then we'll get in the car and flash it, show you guys how I do that, and then we'll get this thing back and started and get some logs done. All right, so now that we got everything back together, you can see got the high pressure fuel pump in there, got everything back together. And so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into the car and we're going to flash the boot mode to show that we now have the Dorsch pump. So let me show you how we do that. All right, so with boot mode, it's pretty easy. You're gonna connect your car, and then we're gonna go ahead and go down to maps, and we're gonna go into maps here, and then we're gonna go down to my custom tune with carry. It's the Pure 593 map. We're gonna select that, and then the gear on the top right here, we're gonna click that, and we're gonna scroll down till you get to high pressure fuel pumps, and then we're gonna click that, and then right here you can select Dorsch Stage 1. There's obviously a bunch of different other ones, Stage 2, Stage 1 with lift kit, spools, all these other ones, but we're gonna just select Dorsch Stage 1, and then we're gonna go ahead and get out of that so it saves it, and then we're going to then flash the car. And that's as simple as that with boot mode. So we're gonna go ahead and take the car for a test drive. We let it run for a little bit, check for leaks. And I can watch my high pressure fuel right here. So at a full pull, we're gonna hit 28, 29, and it's holding 28, 29. So we're good. We have good pressure and pump's doing well. So yeah, excited to get back to the tuning process with Carrie, get this 93 tune done, and then after doing some online polling on my social media and some of the Facebook groups, it looks like more people are wanting, you know, this 93 full kill and also the E85 full kill. So I don't think I'm going to be doing anything in between like E30 or E50, and just see what we can get out of this Pure 500 at full kill. So yep, that's the next thing that we're going to get done.
All right, well that about does it for this episode. So we showed you how to install the Dorsch 1.5 or 15. It goes the same for the Dorsch 2.5 or 25. So you know how to install both of those. I showed you how to flash it in the boot mode. And so we took the car for a test drive. Everything's running really smooth. So now I can continue the tuning process with Carrie on our 93 tune for the Pure 500. I'm really enjoying this car right now. It is a lot of fun to drive, even though it's not a lot of horsepower. It's still just a fun car to drive. I really enjoy it. The Pure 500 is a really good turbo for the price and for what you get. Obviously, if you're not out there racing all the time or trying to do anything like that and you just want a fun car around town, the Pure 500 is definitely the turbo for the money. So having a lot of fun with this, and yeah, that's about it. You guys can catch us at inhouseperformance.com. We are your favorite Pure dealer and Dorsch dealer, so hit us up there. We'll happily help you guys out on pricing. And yeah, we still got a bunch of diverted block-off plates, some intakes, and some other stuff for your cars. Yeah, so that's about it. I appreciate you guys joining the channel. Hit like, hit subscribe. Really appreciate all the support, and we'll be doing an Instagram live soon. I got to schedule a date. I have a lot of good feedback on that, so I'm talking to Carrie right now. We're going to try to find and pick a date. We can answer some of your guys' questions in a more personal atmosphere, and yeah, get to the bottom of some of these discussions and have a good conversation. So definitely pay attention to my social medias, Instagram, Facebook. I'll be announcing that Instagram live date, and then yeah, we can do that. So again, really appreciate everybody joining the channel. We'll keep this thing going. We're still in the middle of the tuning process for 93, and I'm sure in the next week we'll bump it up to E85, and hopefully we can get this thing on the dyno soon and get you guys some data. So yeah, until the next one, take it easy, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.